I love your guy that you have right up to the right side of your head.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That one's not finished.
Hi. Hi. Thank you for joining us. ET contact.
Yeah. I had a couple of different events with like bright blue lights in the daytime. That hasn't happened for a while. That's always kind of fun and reassuring. It's you know, driving and different things. It used to happen more often. The first year when I was aware of contact, I remember driving and it was like I would see these flashes. Like it was just a regular thing. And I even had asked if they would show someone else, and they did the same thing. And then, you know, so when it hasn't, then it didn't stop happening for a long time. And it's actually happened 3 times within the last 6 months or so, which is nice. The confirmation of things actually being real and happening.
I love the lights. My lights are indigo, what I call blue purpley. And I'll see the flashes. I get the diamond light ones, I get the indigo light ones mostly. And then I also get geometric grid patterns. So if I just look out into my room sometimes, like if I'm just sort of just laying there looking like I would be looking up at the stars, I'll begin to see this grid pattern through the space. That is these indigo colored lights. And it's like a checkerboard. The lines are missing, just the points where all the lines intersect are showing as this grid pattern across the room. Yeah, it's phenomenal when that happens. I love it. And then the star field. So even with the eyes open, I can get this star field of indigo colored lights, indigo and diamond white colored lights. Yeah, and they'll just look like a night sky full of stars, but they're these indigo colors.
I'm curious, what do you think that those are? Do they represent something, or are they something?
To me, they are the star field and yeah, the grid structure, literally. So you have to make it when you're going out of body, when you're shifting consciousness from here to elsewhere. I often go through a star field and then the grid to get out beyond Earth space. Yeah, and they're just there. Can I enter certain points on the timeline through them? I can. Have I spent a lot of time consciously experimenting with that? No, because there's always been, since 2009, there's just been too much else that's going on. You know, I'm just taken, you know, and so I don't have a lot of time to consciously experiment around with things on my own too much. A little bit, but not a lot. So yeah, I've used them before to enter timelines in which something's happening. And I play around with trying to hit a precise point in the timeline. For instance, the one that I'm remembering, my brother Derek was in, and he's just walking down the beach, and he has a load of something that he's going to unload. I'll just put it that way. You could think of this as trash, and you know, he's going to unload it in the trash can. You know, so the concept is something like this. And I was using this grid pattern to try to enter the timeline in which I would enter right there where he is before he gets to the can. But I kept ending up too far behind him on the beach to catch up to him, or too much ahead of him. like I couldn't quite hit, you know, right where I was going. It was taking time after time after time. So like I made a couple dozen attempts to hit it, right there where he was. And so, but that's the only time I can recall that I even had any span of time to play around with what that was. But yeah, I'll just be laying in my bed at night, just sort of enjoying the feeling of the space. And yeah, they just start appearing. And I know my consciousness is shifting. Yeah. The mm, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I construct that in my own awareness as the soul entering more of my experience in that moment, which is sort of turning the lights on, so to speak, allowing me to see more layers of what's presenting in the visual field. And yeah, so I just can shift right out and through with that.
I always think it's kind of exciting when these things actually shift through to the visual field. That's just spectacular when that happens.
Especially
Because so
full
much of it
body.
is within. Yeah.
Especially full body, like not taking a mental projection through, but taking your whole self, body and all. So, have any ET craft um, come to you, like hovering right there over your physical space, right there where you live, right up there in the atmosphere? Any crafts ever come?
Not close. I have no recall except for the two times that I was in the craft. I have no recall of having seen them without close. I've seen them from a distance and some pretty spectacular maneuvering and stuff. But I mean, it was absolutely undeniable. One of them that came and looked like a large comet, and was, I don't know how, maybe a couple of 100 feet away or so, and was going at the speed a small comet, like kind of like this, but seemed like a little bit faster, and then did this complete L shape up, like this turn like this, and turned into a line, just a line of light, and was gone. I mean, that was early on in my experience, and that was like, I was hoping for some kind of physical confirmation, and that just I mean, the odds of my being outside and looking up at that time, it was just really something.
Mm.
But as far as seeing them over the top of me, I don't have that happen a lot. I don't have that many vehicle sightings. I've had the two times that I was inside and I was aware of it before I was aware of any vehicle or anything at all. And maybe three different times that I can say that I knew that it was a vehicle and not some type of a light or some other type of a form, like a solid vehicle.
I don't generally do outside sightings. I don't do CE5. I don't go outside and look at the outside night sky. I'm just inside, either in my meditation or again, laying here getting ready to go to bed, but my eyes are open. I'm not going in yet. And the fields will start opening up. I can just see through the ceiling. I can see through the roof of the house. I can just see more of the fields. And one of these times, there was a craft right above the house, and it's beaming this aquamarine green colored light down to the house and to me, where I was laying there. And that shifted me into a full, quote, out of body experience, a full experience of being here and somewhere else at the same time. So, yeah, I was brought up on craft. Before well, let me say, in this experience, I didn't hold a point of awareness there on the craft, although I held the awareness that I was on the craft. My main points of awareness were here, lying here in the bed, and out beyond where the craft was, just past where it was, looking down at the craft and my house and through the roof into my bedroom to there where I was laying. Phenomenal experience. I love, opening the layers and being aware of, you know, that much more than usual. Yeah, and I was just watching the craft, beam this aquamarine colored light down to me. And I was experiencing in my body, laying here in the bed, a lot of vibratory phenomena. So that which, you might associate with mild electricity, mild electrocution. I was trying to get that word. um, yeah, and the sort of stiffening you might imagine, of the body, as electricity was running through. My experience of it was very pleasant because I was experiencing it from a layer within inside and extending out beyond the physical structure itself. And so it just sort of felt to me like floating and levitating. Although I could feel the currents, I understood, I could cognize this is electricity. um, yeah. Cool. Do you have colors that are associated you with the crafts that come that you've been aware of? Have you ever had anything like that happen where they're beaming a light or working with you along a particular light spectrum?
Um, what I remember when one of the two times where I was in the vehicle and I was fully conscious at different points, and it was absolutely, shocking, the different things that were going on. But at one point I remember I was like back I was in the wrong room of the house, and I was on the floor and I couldn't see anything. All I could see was this bright, bright, bright blue, this really, really strong blue. And I had no idea where I was, and I was actually yelling. I was yelling, "What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?" And that was before my awakening. That was, I think that something happened that kind of got me along to the point where was able to process things. There's a lot more that went on at that time than what I'm even close to being aware of. But the usual orbs and lights, and I don't know, I just call them observer lights that I experience, because it's orange and like a dark blue, sometimes white, but orange is the most common one. So the orange and the green, sometimes green, the orange light I tend to always associate with Ra, always. It
What
just feels like that, yeah.
what were you able to be aware of on that craft?
That time that I was talking about with the blue light and everything.
The craft we're just right now talking about. You said
Okay.
what you were able to be aware of was significant.
What I remember was waking up, and it was like I was on a table, and it was like I was a little bit foggy or something, but I felt like I was waking up from being asleep. And there was this something black and white that was hanging on the wall. It was a strange pattern. It looked kind of like a shield or some kind of I don't know what it was. It was some kind of object, and I was just absolutely fascinated with this thing, and I started looking around, and I was in a small room. It was like it felt like a surgery room, and three small people walked in, and they were wearing I believe they were biological people, but at the time I really wasn't sure if they were robots or biological people wearing some sort of, it was like a shiny something that completely covered them. They were just completely reflective. There was a lot of light, and they had like the classic gray faces, the large eyes, but everything was covered with this material. And they walked in, and I said out loud, I can't, something like, no effing way, this is too weird. This cannot be happening. This cannot be happening. It was just, and then I passed out and don't really remember anything until I was in the blue light back in my house, curled on the floor yelling. So that's all that I took back from that. But it was really something.
And what kind of a way?
Well, I feel like I was allowed to see them. I saw these different people. I mean, they were right there in front of me.
So in a
As shocking and unrealistic as that might seem to the mind.
So in a good way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, because it's not always so good. A lot of times it's too much. Have you ever been on board experiencing something that was at the edge of your handling skills?
Yeah, well that was, and I think that's why I passed out. At my handling skills at that time, I process it now as a very positive thing, but at the time when it was happening, it was shocking to the point where I think I fainted or lost consciousness or what, whatever happened. Maybe they wanted me to not be conscious for whatever was happening. There was my other experience of almost the same thing of finding myself on a vehicle in a very, very, very large vehicle with lots of people, and most of them didn't seem like they were conscious, and everyone was wearing like these white, almost like hospital gown looking things. I was wearing one, everybody was, and I thought that we had died. I thought, this is hell. What happens? They take you in a vehicle and when you die, I guess, but I didn't want to die. I know I've talked about this whole thing before, but that was
No.
that no, that was absolute. I was not prepared. I thought I was dead, and I was not prepared for that. I had 2 small children, and I'm not okay with being dead, and that was what my whole experience was about that. And I saw a bunch of really bizarre screen images that took me years to process this whole thing. I thought I had a near-death experience, that I died and then I'd come back. That's how I processed that whole first vehicle experience as. And I talked to people and they were helping me calm down. There was 2 women that were there and they seemed to be much calmer than I was.
Earth women?
Yeah. They had the same hospital gowns, but they were, they were okay, and they were aware, and they were speaking coherently, and whereas I was just losing it all over the place.
And is this all taking place in the room with the table? Or is
no, this is a completely different vehicle. This one felt huge, and it felt like a warehouse. And I remember leaving it. I had hand surgery. I had to wait in a line. Everyone was like having this line. I don't know what there was a person that had like a cartoon image over their face that never moved the whole time. And that was one of the strange things about the memory, was that it was like a smiling face from a comic book that was opening my hand and doing these different things at the same time. And there was no pain or anything. And then I was in like a couple of different rooms, and I seemed to go in and out of consciousness a lot. And then I was leaving the vehicle, and that was like one of the most extraordinary things ever. I was again with another screen image of a Christmas card person. I recognized that this was like a Hawaiian Christmas card angel. That's exactly what I was, and the face never moved. There was just this smile the whole time, this happy smile, like a picture, like a flat picture. And the blue light again, only it was like, I believe it was the vehicle that I saw. I thought it was the sun, and I was thinking, this is the near-death experience. This is the great light that everyone talks about. But it was, it looked like a huge sun that had every color imaginable and some absolutely indescribable colors. And I was aware of leaving, floating downwards through the sky pretty much with a Christmas card angel. And there were these like egg-shaped, it was almost like they were cut out from the sky, and they had all these different pink and yellow swirling colors, and these were all going in the same direction, like going downwards with us. And then I was back.
What do you think about that? Like, people share about graduating from the Earth life experience through the sun, like you make your exit through the sun. Do you have any
I've
idea?
never thought of it. Yeah, I can't say that I've thought of it in that way. At the time when that was happening and I thought that I was seeing the great white light that everyone talks about in near-death experiences, I interpreted that as being another dimension or God or something like this. This is some sort of it never occurred to me that that was the sun, but it was like looking at a sun.
If I were to ask you right now, what is our sun? What would you say?
I would say that it's from my understanding, well, I could answer that from two different places of understanding. I could say that it is an energy source that is also a portal at the same time behind, or I could say that this is a star that is, a part of some different type of energy form that's continuously burning for a time in a certain form.
Okay. So when you were having your hand surgery on the craft, this was not on the table? This was not on the table?
No, no, I was at a table. It was like I was sitting down across a table from someone.
Okay. Anything more about that craft or any of the other beings you saw?
I was only allowed to see the human beings. The other ones, they've hid images or they put images over themselves, so I couldn't see them.
What was the hand surgery?
My left hand, right about here, right in here. I don't know what. He opened it like this, and I could see the fat cells inside of my hand and everything, and closed it just like like with a little tiny. I mean, just like that. And I have no idea what that was. I've always assumed it was some type of implant or something. I know I feel like I have had other ones at different times. I don't know from when and where, but
Do you feel like you're participating in this? That you're agreeing in the surgery, that you're agreeing to the implant? And what purpose does this implant serve?
well, at the time, I don't feel like I was agreeing to it at the time. I feel like this was something that I probably agreed to before this life or on another level. But at the time when I was experiencing that, it was not something that I was okay with. Nothing about that experience was okay with me. I wanted to be back home with my children,
How many years?
not dead in a vehicle having hand surgery by cartoon people.
How many
So,
years ago was
but
this?
now I process it. I'm sorry.
How many years ago was this?
This was approximately.
You're freezing. Say that again.
This was in 1991.
Okay, long time ago. And then that was your last awareness of being on a craft?
That was my first one. The one where I came down and I met the three people that were covered in silver and everything, and I was on the table. That was another experience, and that was probably about 12 years ago.
So that would make the year 2007?
Maybe 2005. I know exactly where I was working and living at the time when that happened. I think it was more about 2005.
So that's a long span of time between your first experience and your second, and between your second experience and now. Are you ready for more awareness?
Yes, I would love. I've been asking for it. I've been asking for it. I want to see this and have this happen and experience it. I think that I'm ready at this point to be aware. I'm sure, you know, it will be very intense and everything, but I feel like I am ready. I've been asking for it for years.
So do you know how to go in and get that information? Or are you just waiting for something to happen?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Don't wait. If you're ready, don't wait. That's no fun at all. You waiting is a forever kind of a thing.
For me, I can go into like out of body. I can go into Ra's environment and into the vehicles and see all of this stuff. But the physical part of it is, or being aware in this body, it's a different level of awareness. I'm there, but I'm out of body. Those two experiences was I really feel like I might have quite possibly been there in my body. I'm not sure, but it sure felt like it. It was every bit as real as me sitting here right now.
That is an out of body experience. Yeah. It's not a mental projection. You're not just remote viewing it from a quote distance. You are entirely there, not just your consciousness, not just your energy body, but in a physical form as well. That is an out of body experience. But I would suggest not waiting. The energy of waiting is what it is, and it's perpetual. Waiting is waiting. Nothing's happening. You're waiting. So, like, get out of that energy. There's a very big difference between waiting and being available. And I would highly suggest getting into the energy of being available. And that means putting your point of focus and concentration on the right here, right now, and on a very specific intent to open up into a stream of information and energy that you are going to enter in full physical awareness, meaning you're going to go there and have an experience. You ready to do it now?
Yeah. Sure. I'm always, you know, into this kind of exploring.
Mm-hmm. So is there a reason that you're not? Is there hesitation? Is there fear?
Not so much anymore. I remember when I first began engaging in, you know, conscious contact and telepathy and all the remote viewing and all these different things. Um, and I began asking, I want to see you. I want to go remember being in the vehicle. I want to remember these things. I want to experience them and retain the experience. And it was a little bit frightening because I was afraid that I was going to actually find myself in that position. And I remember what it was like those two other times. And then so many years went by, and so things that I asked for came to pass, but not in the level of what I was actually hoping for. And so I've kind of lost, in a sense, the fear and the expectation. And I've settled for
The central nervous system, if it's prepared, will receive the information streams, will receive the data streams. You, from the point that you exist in a timeline right now, in the year 2019, will bring into it that experience. And it will be as though 2 points on the timeline have connected. The point in the timeline that, again, you're at right this moment, on the point in the timeline when you had the conscious recall, as well as the moment in which the event actually occurred, which is not necessarily the point at which you first bring it forward into yourself. In the year 2005 and the year 1991, those experiences weren't necessarily, in fact, likely, probably, were not occurring right then. You were connecting the point of awareness of yourself at that point in the timeline with another point in which the experience actually occurred. You just brought it forward into yourself at that point in your timeline in 1991, in 2005. And you do the same thing right here, right now. In 2019, bring forward the stream of information and energy, which in itself is the experience that occurred, into yourself right here, right now. Yeah, but if the central nervous system is not prepared, meaning if there is still fear, that won't happen. And so you just address the fear right here, right now. Okay, well, I wonder what it is I'm still afraid of. I wonder what energy it is I feel I cannot process. Please inform. You will begin to get the ideas of what it is you have not yet quite been able to work with. And you will say, okay, I want to see what this is in more detail. And you'll enter the detail. It will just tell you who and how you are, and you'll breathe through it, and you'll look at it purposefully. To see if that fear is not really there, it's constructed. And so basically, by looking at it, you dismantle it. And once you've dismantled the fear and you're sitting there in the information flow, in the energy flow, you see, okay, now it's really coming through because I just dismantled the fear that wasn't even really there. It's such a... I won't go off on that tangent. But it's something that you have to sit down and do, like the channeling. Don't let me talk forever. Dive in here, Ra.
So so we look at the fear, and then how do you know when you feel it's not there anymore, and you just proceed in the moment?
As soon as you try to zoom in on it, yeah, you see it's not even there. Questions about that?
I guess I won't know until I try how much fear is there, until I come face to face with it again.
All right, face to face with it right now. Don't keep putting it off out into the future. Don't keep yourself in wait mode. Look at something you're afraid of right now. Tell me something you're afraid of.
Falling. Injury.
You're afraid of falling. Why are you afraid of falling?
The consequences are huge. Injury, death, that sort of thing.
Okay, look at the injury that's done from falling. Look at that. Go ahead, look at it. Where do you where are you becoming injured, Ra? Where are you becoming injured? You're bringing forward some past life recall. Where are you being injured in this fall?
It's always my legs and my feet.
Okay, look at your legs and your feet.
They're fine.
They are, right?
Yeah, they're there. Yeah, they're working. I, yeah, that's fear, I guess, you know.
Do you see what I mean? As soon as you look at it, it's not there. So if you look far enough into it, you'll see it just goes away. Because, yeah, it was constructed. Keep looking at your legs and feet. What's there?
What's there is the physical structure, the bones and tendons and muscles and skin and stuff.
Right now in your legs and feet, are there any broken bones? Are there any broken capillaries? Is there any pain? Is there any inflammation? What's there? Anything?
Nothing bad. Slight tingling in one foot and you know, a bunch of recovering injuries. Nothing bad.
Recovering injuries. What were these injuries?
Well, I hit my toe on something just today, this morning, and you know, I cut the other foot from underneath because I stepped on something that poked through the hole in my shoe, and that sort of thing.
Okay, but these are being done in your life at present. I want you to look into your legs and your feet and tell me, for instance, I have something at the hip crease. I have a sensitivity in my legs. I've never been able to let anybody touch my legs, like a body worker who's doing massage. My first instruction is don't touch the legs. Okay, so I do have stuff that I'm carrying in my legs. Look at your legs and feet. I get hot feet, in the night with the larger flows, so there's a closure there, a blocking there. The energy is not able to free flow through the feet. It's being confined there and trapped there somehow for some reason. So these are things that I see when I look at my legs and my feet. If you're going to look at your legs and your feet, what do you see? Anything? Anything at all? There may be nothing, I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't see anything terrible.
How body aware are you, Ra? On a scale of 1 through 10, how aware of your body, and I don't just mean your arms and legs and head, I mean your bloods and capillaries and endocrine system and all the things from the inside that make up the outside. How body aware are you? Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
I would have to say 5, and but there's two differing things that bring it to that. It could be higher, it could be lower.
Okay, what are those two things?
I can engage with my physical self. I understand I understand anatomy. I have the knowledge of this, and I can go in and take different things out and correct different things. I've
If
done
I,
this, type of thing at different points in my life.
if I say right now, feel your kidneys, can you do it?
Yeah,
Okay, if I say right now, feel your endocrine system, can you do it?
I'm feeling, I believe so. Different places in my neck, underarms, different lymphs. I'm feeling the lymphatic system.
You're feeling the lymphatic system, yes. Okay.
It's close.
System. I would suggest this to you as an exercise to go inside your body system, inside your energy body system, and navigate, sort of travel through and see what sort of experiences happen and where you're led with the idea or question of where am I carrying pain? Where am I carrying fear? And just see where you go and where these areas are and what kind of awareness you can bring to them directly there in that experience. See if you can dismantle anything. See if you can see what that is, what it represents, such as falling in an accident I had when I broke my legs back in 23 BC. The details will come through to you. But this is how you go into fear and how you dismantle fear, how you process and complete with fear to see that it's not actually here with you now, that you're carrying it from someplace else. And yeah, you can just set that down now, especially if it's getting in the way of having an experience that you want to have, an awareness that you want to have now. If it's getting in the way, set it down. It's not part of your package now, usually.
It's that's what it is that interferes with absolutely everything, isn't it? The root of all of this is that, and it's completely illogical. Some of it, some of the fear that uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable. That's what it is a lot of times, and the body reacts uncomfortably.
Yeah, and then you go into that discomfort. And what you find when you go into the discomfort is it's not there either. These things are man-made. They're constructed. And you can deconstruct them. You just touch them. I'm not carrying that anymore. Boom, gone. It's literally that simple. That doesn't put an end to it, because you get back into your physical space and your physical mind starts reconstructing them again, just out of sheer habit. But the more you deconstruct them, the less you start reconstructing them, to the point where you're not doing it anymore. Who cares if you die? Who cares if I die? Is there such a thing as death? That's the big thing that I have over many people. I've gone in and out so many times. I know there's no such thing as death. That doesn't mean I love horrific experiences. Nobody loves that. But to be able to face it and complete with it is entirely important. To allow it to be there life after life after life forever and ever and ever, there's the alternative. So which is actually the more pleasing, going into it and completing with it, or letting it be there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever because you're not willing to go in and complete with it? Which one do you fear more?
I think the idea of a hell would be having to go over and over again and not having any knowledge from everything that you're doing over and over again. The same thing, the same mistake, the same thing. Why does this keep happening to me? You don't know. That to me is far worse than the idea of walking through something and finally getting it over with. There's so many different things in my own life that I've absolutely had to just walk through it, and you know, it's unpleasant. It is whatever it is, but then it's not there anymore, and that's the only way is to go through it.
Indeed. Now let's put these on a scale. Fear that you're never looking at, that you're never going into, that you're never completing with, and rather carrying over and over and over and over and over and over again, and falling. Which one are you more afraid of?
The fear has infinite, you know, I mean, that can just stretch out forever. The falling you recover
The fear
from.
that you're never completing with. That's what's on one end of the scale. And on the other end of the scale is simply the fear itself. In this example of falling. Which one weighs heavier? Which one is worse in your estimation? I'm asking.
My estimation, the long-term effects of fear are worse than the short-term effects of physically injuring yourself from falling. Yeah.
Okay, but we're still not understanding the scale. On this end of the scale is the fear that you're never completing with. And on this end of the scale is simply the fear itself. So here we have falling. And here we have the experience of falling that you're never dealing with. Which one is weighing heavier? Which one is worse in your estimation?
I still would think that the mental thought of carrying around this fear of falling would be worse than the fall itself, unless the fall were deadly.
Right, but we're not even going into that yet, Ra. So we're not dealing with any consequence. We're just dealing with the fear of falling.
Carrying of the fear.
And the carrying of the fear of falling that you're never dealing with. Life after life after life, body after body after body, day after day after day. Which one is weighing heavier?
I still think the fear is weighing heavier.
The fear that you're never completing with. Because on both ends of the scale, we have the fear. The fear is on both ends of the scale. But over here, we've added that you're never looking at, that you're never dealing with, that you're never completing with. Okay, so of course I'm just gonna guide it now. I know I'm sometimes hard to understand. Of course that, but I need you to understand that in the cells of your body, which is the reason I need you to understand and actually say the words. Because that's what ends up getting you to realize, the point of realizing that all of a sudden fear itself is not so awful. If you go into it again, you'll see it's not even there. Because we're not the body, because there's no such thing as dying. It's constructed. Yeah. And if you can get yourself to the point where you're being more aware of that, you can open yourself to have more experience, more conscious experience. The central nervous system will let you have it. Your central nervous system is your guard. It's your back body guard. The spirit enters the physical construct through the back body. Okay, so it's the guard right here behind you that's saying only what this one can handle gets in. Anything that will break this one cannot get in. So your central nervous system is your key to having more conscious experience.
This is what causes people to pass out and faint and things like this. Is it just it's an overload, or what causes us to not remember much of our experiences that we have is the central nervous system shuts it off.
Yeah.
Excess.
And could you pass out? Could you faint if you weren't there in physicality?
No.
So, with your conscious physical mind, is your conscious physical body. The two are inseparable. And they're connected by the energy systems. Does that mean if somebody were to look in your bed, they wouldn't see your physical body? No, it doesn't mean that. It means in the experience you are having, you have constructed around yourself the physicality. If you look down at yourself, your hand will be there just like it's here. In the same way, I've entered out-of-body experience in many different ways. One is as point consciousness. Okay, that's not with the body constructed around it. The other is point consciousness within the consciousness field of another individual who is embodied. If I look down, it'll be their body I'm seeing. You know, and I experience that differently than the closeness at which, or immediacy at which I experience my own. There's some distance between my conscious awareness and the experience of myself in that form. And then there's point consciousness within my own constructed physicality around myself, which is felt just like it is here. Everything's immediate and whole and all at once. My mind is here, my energy is here, my physicality is here. It's immediate, it's all at once. It doesn't feel like there's any space between me and my body. When we're entering additional consciousness states, you'll notice that there is. You know, you'll notice that you can't even locate your physical body sometimes. You know, so if you're going into a deep meditation, all of a sudden you realize that you don't remember where you put yourself down in the room. You know, you literally, even if you try, can't bring that back to mind. You even start feeling for the room, and you're like, where am I in the room? And then you'll realize maybe when the body awareness starts coming back online that you can't locate yourself because you're in multiple locations in the room. And then you start to identify, wow, I'm up here on the roof looking down. And, you know, then, you know, you can see I'm down there on the floor looking up also. And yeah, all these interesting things start to happen. I'm not sure why we're going off in this way, but I think it's important for you to, you know, if you're interested in, you know, having more conscious awareness of the experiences you have had and embodying them more fully here in this form, then this is the course. Yeah, and you just do these things. They're fun. So you say, okay, what am I afraid of? You bring up a fear, falling. Why am I afraid of falling? And then you look at the answer. There's a lot of static coming from your end again. Sounds like a machine.
My computer just started, the drive thing is doing something. I don't know why. It just started doing that for some reason. one thing I kind of wanted to ask about was this is an interesting thing that I understand about Ra'a, that he's able to be in multiple locations and operate multiple bodies. And this is something that really fascinates me. And it's something that I feel like at times I've kind of tapped into with my own self, the awareness of being here and an awareness of being someplace else and maybe another one. Not, I've never been able to achieve more than 3 slight awarenesses.
And
And
you want to?
well, it always seems to come to a point where it's like I've got to make a decision and engage in one of these awarenesses fully, because I'm going, you know, if I'm here physically cooking and I'm aware that I'm someplace else having a conversation, you know, in someplace else resting or something. If I engage too much in the conversation that I'm having in this other reality, it seems to affect what I'm doing here, where my focus is here. It's one of those things that I don't know if it's the limitation of the brain. I highly doubt it, but it's just, you know.
You're thinking of this in terms of your personality point. It's not this, it's your larger awareness. So you shift into your larger awareness, what some people call your soul point. And it just is in all of those locations. And you can connect with that larger point and also carry the awareness and full 3D surround sound experience of being in all of those locations. And it's not a drain on any particular point, because it's not your personality point doing this. It's your personality point connecting with the larger awareness and opening to all of the data. So the United States is in Michigan and New York and California and Maine all at the same time. And is it hard for the United States to do that? No, because it, in its own awareness, is a singularity. And feeling all those points is no different than us feeling the tip of our right finger at the same time that we're aware of our nose and our left elbow. You know, all of that is what we are. And we can put our awareness in those places, at those points, without any drain or diminishment. So if I feel for the tip of my right finger and my left elbow at the same time, am I any more or less aware of either of those 2 points? I'm not. I can feel them both at the same time. I can feel the whole body system at the same time, with absolutely no diminishment at any of the points within this at all. And so can the soul point, the larger awareness point. It just is in all of those places. And the same way the United States is in all of the states all at the same time. Because it is the whole. And it's a different brainwave that functions in this. It's not the predominant beta wave. So you'll notice that when you begin practicing putting your awareness at multiple points and start practicing with your world, your body world, put your awareness here and here and here and here, and see if you can feel those areas all at the same time. And this is how you begin doing it. This will cause a restructuring of the brainwave frequencies, and this will open you out into the next layer of the experience also, which extends out beyond where your earth life body is into where other bodies, your soul, is inhabiting is. And how fully you come into those environments is up to you. There's no end to what's possible. I call this synchronous states. Tom Campbell calls it parallel processing. Other people will have different names for it, but it is essentially simply an expansion of consciousness, an expansion of awareness, a concentration of focus. Can you do it?
I believe so.
Do it.
You want me to try right now? Okay. I'm going to try and put my attention on two different places. My wrist and my ankles. I don't know why, but I'm feeling like there's 4 of them. Immediately I felt like, wait, there's only 2 or there's 4? But yeah, I can put it in both places at once.
And the more you put your awareness there, what happens?
Well, it's an expansion.
The sensation increases, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. In those areas, and all else tends to kind of fade out.
Mm-hmm. And then go into the sensation, and what happens? The more you focus on the sensation, what happens?
Well, it seems to be faster, like a faster, stronger feeling.
The more
It's
vibration
more,
there is.
it's more than it was. The awareness, if it's causing it, or if it's just simply that my awareness is there, it's definitely a stronger awareness of these points.
It's also a stronger sensation, and the more you focus on the sensation, the stronger the vibration of those areas become. The more you put your awareness on the vibration, the more you can expand the vibration out to include the whole of you, and you are out. Full body. You just went out through your own system. Awesome way to
Is
practice.
this? Yeah.
What else happens in this? You get to know yourself. You get to know who you are, who your systems are, who the cells are that are composing the systems that compose you. All of it. You get to see how it functions. I mean, anything that you're curious about. When you get inside yourself and get to know who you are in this way, do you imagine there's any more fear? Awe, excitement, curiosity. Fear will be nowhere to be found.